Today is Wednesday, December 14th. We'll tell you what's considered an encouraging sign for inflation and how it could impact a decision from the Federal Reserve today. Also, a huge fire at a police warehouse has damaged evidence, possibly hindering several cold cases in New York City. Plus, a type of cancer vaccine showing promise, a Twitter-like feature coming to Instagram, and more dads choosing to stay home with the kids. Those stories and more news in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, there's good news for Americans who have been frustrated about higher prices. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, report came out this week showing some positive trends. The CPI measures what people pay for goods and services, and it's a key way to track inflation. Well, the latest data shows it was lower last month than economists predicted. The CPI rose 7.1% in November as compared to the same month last year. And while it is much higher than the Federal Reserve's goal of 2%, it's the fifth straight month the year-to-year difference has been lower than the month before. So it's progress. A lot of the change is happening because gas prices are way lower than they were over the summer. Also going down, the costs of healthcare, airfare, furniture, electricity, and more. That said, grocery prices have gone up, and since food is not exactly a luxury expense, a lot of families are still struggling. Many economists say the outlook for 2023 is much better than it was for 2022. A lot of that has to do with moves from the Federal Reserve. The Fed is meeting again today, where it's expected to raise its benchmark interest rate by a half point, the seventh rate hike this year. As you know, that will make it more expensive for Americans to borrow money. And as people and businesses start borrowing and spending less, inflation is expected to go down. To be continued. It's being called one of the most impressive scientific feats of the 21st century. As expected, the U.S. Energy Department announced a breakthrough in research on nuclear fusion. It's considered a first step toward creating a limitless, clean, cheap energy source. To get here, researchers in a federal lab have been using lasers to heat and compress hydrogen atoms. They are heated to more than 180 million degrees and pressures more than 100 billion times the Earth's atmosphere. In other words, extreme conditions that cause atoms to fuse and release energy. And earlier this month, they got a reaction that actually made more energy than was needed to start the reaction in the first place. That's the first time this was done in a lab and not a star. Still, fusion researchers say it will be years, if not decades, before this kind of technology can really replace fossil fuels. For now, it's just considered a step towards that goal that's no longer considered a long shot. A fire is burning in a New York Police Department warehouse. And this is a fire that was so huge yesterday, firefighters say it could be days before it's fully extinguished. And officials say it likely damaged evidence stretching back up to 30 years, including DNA from crime scenes. To be clear, this is just one of several places where the NYPD stores evidence, so most unsolved cases will not be impacted. But investigators say some will. And no matter what, they'll be combing through each item to see what is still salvageable. Of course, they'll also be trying to figure out exactly how this fire started. A massive storm has already done some damage and is expected to cause even more as the week goes on. So far, it's moved through Oklahoma and North Texas, where a few tornadoes were confirmed. Dozens of homes and businesses were damaged, and a few people got hurt. Travelers had to take shelter inside the DFW airport, and more than 1,000 flights were canceled there. Also, parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota have been getting heavy snow, high winds, and ice. Major interstates had to shut down and businesses closed. And the storm is not over yet. Today, severe weather with the risk of tornadoes and flash flooding could impact more of the South, like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. And the cold part of the storm is expected to stick around for a while in the upper Midwest, bringing more ice, rain, and snow. Then it's on to the East Coast. Starting tonight, people from West Virginia to Vermont are being told to expect a mix of snow, ice, and sleet, and that could last until the end of this week. The CDC is saying it might be time to dig out your mask if you haven't been wearing one in a while. The public health experts there are pointing to a recent surge in cases of COVID-19, the flu, and RSV. The three respiratory viruses are overwhelming some emergency rooms and causing a cold medicine shortage. So the Public Health Agency is asking people in certain counties to wear masks anytime they're indoors in public. That includes counties in nearly every state, and some highly populated areas like those around New York City and Los Angeles. To see how things are where you live, you can check out the link we posted in today's episode notes. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Did you know the average person has 12 paid subscriptions? And that most Americans spend up to $200 a month on paid subscriptions. That's right, you could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month on subscriptions you don't even know about. Many are lured in by free trials, but then forget to cancel. I know that's happened to me, from Spotify to Hulu to ClassPass and more. Well, there's this app I love using now that takes care of that for me. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Overall, Rocket Money found the most canceled subscriptions are Amazon Prime, Audible, Hulu, and DoorDash DashPass. Any of those sound familiar to you? Well, get this, the average person saves up to $720 a year with Rocket Money. And to cancel a subscription for most services, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. The world could soon have a new vaccine to prevent one of the most common types of cancers in the U.S., and it's coming from the same medical breakthrough that's used to fight COVID-19. Researchers have been testing a new vaccine using mRNA technology. And this week, the company behind it put out results from the latest trial, showing the vaccine has been helping skin cancer patients. The Moderna vaccine was tested over the course of a year on patients with stage 3 or 4 melanoma who already had surgery in combination with immunotherapy from Merck. And what researchers found was that adding the vaccine lowered the risk of patients dying or the cancer coming back by 44%. More testing and studies still need to be done, including on other types of cancer. But medical experts say the vaccine has the potential to save thousands of lives a year. Old-fashioned embezzlement. That's how the collapse and bankruptcy of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX is being described. The new CEO of the failed crypto company testified before Congress about where the company went wrong before he was placed in charge to try to sort things out. Remember, the former CEO and founder of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, was also supposed to testify originally, but that was before he was arrested in the Bahamas. Federal prosecutors charged him with wire fraud and misusing customer funds, along with a number of other major crimes. Bankman-Fried allegedly took customers' money for his and others' personal use, buying things like mansions and luxury cars. Authorities say he used the money to cover expenses, debts, and risky trades at his crypto hedge fund, Alameda Research, and even to make political campaign donations. When FTX went down last month, it took an estimated $8 billion of customers' money with it. Since then, the company has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Bankman-Fried's lawyer said his legal team is reviewing the charges and considering all of his options. Right now, Bankman-Fried is being held without bail in the Bahamas until at least February. He will eventually be extradited back to the United States, and if found guilty, he could spend decades in prison. Even more states have started to ban the video sharing app TikTok on government devices. Alabama and Utah are the latest to officially prohibit state employees from having the extremely popular app on their smartphones, computers, or anything else owned by the state. They cite national security concerns, since TikTok is owned and operated by a Chinese company called ByteDance. For a while now, American officials have been concerned China's government could use TikTok to collect important data and other information off any device the app is connected to. At least 9 states across the U.S. have now taken action against TikTok. Still, more than 136 million people in the U.S. have the TikTok app on a device. A TikTok spokesperson called the recent bans disappointing and based on, quote, unfounded, politically charged falsehoods. And once again, the company promised it does not share any U.S. data with the Chinese government. Instagram is launching a couple of new features that make it similar to other popular social media apps, Twitter and Be Real. First, there's something called Notes that's seen as a Twitter competitor. It lets people update their friends and followers with messages using just text and emoji, on top of the regular photo and video sharing Instagram is known for. Still, there are some differences from Twitter. For starters, users can only send and leave notes that are 60 characters long, as compared to the 280 Twitter gives you. Instagram's Notes will also allow you to choose who you want to send your messages to, like you are mutual followers or close friends. Once sent, the note shows up at the top of other users' inboxes for 24 hours. Instagram's other new feature is called Candid Stories, and it's being tested in South Africa first. Just like Be Real, Candid gives people a daily notification to snap and share 2 unfiltered photos of whatever they're doing at that moment. So far, though, Instagram has not said when or if the feature will roll out here in the U.S. Actor and comedian Adam Sandler has won a lot of awards over the years, but never this one until now. Sandler will be the newest recipient of the 24th Mark Twain Award for American Humor. It's considered one of the most prestigious honors a comedian can get. The Mark Twain Award recognizes people who have had an impact on American society in ways similar to Twain himself. Some of the past winners include George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Whoopi Goldberg, Steve Martin, Carol Burnett, Tina Fey, and a number of other comedians and actors you've probably heard of. Sandler will receive the award at the gala performance at the Kennedy Center in March. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, this podcast is sponsored by ZocDoc. For some people, the upcoming new year will mean changes to your health insurance, and sometimes that can mean your go-to doctors are suddenly out of network. ZocDoc can help. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. It'll help you sort through doctors that are in network and in your neighborhood. Plus, the mobile app is as easy as ordering a ride to a restaurant, allowing you to search, find, and book doctors with a few taps. You can choose to book an appointment in person or remotely. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, and I like it whenever I need to find a new doctor, too. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. A recent report from the New York Times says hundreds of thousands of men in their late 30s and early 40s dropped out of the workforce during the pandemic, and they still haven't come back. In many cases, that's because they're taking on the role of stay-at-home parent. The Pew Research Center says there were about 2.1 million stay-at-home dads last year, up 8% since 1989. While that's still only about 18% of all stay-at-home parents, Pew says at least some of the reason for the change is more women are now out-earning their male partners, so it just makes sense for the men to stay home. And that trend could continue because since the 1990s, women have surpassed men in both college enrollment and in graduation. Another reason is it's becoming less financially worthwhile for both parents to work. When you factor in the rising costs of childcare and commuting, a second income is not always worth it. To be clear, other research has shown that women overwhelmingly bore the brunt of childcare and household demands during the pandemic. But overall, the work landscape does look a little different than it used to. Well, thank you so much for joining us as part of your daily routine and for supporting us by sharing the show. We'll catch you up on more news tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.